needs. So the question came to mind that there's interesting, right? Sheikh Darqawi, obviously you're familiar with, in his own biography, he kind of details that he went through a position where he had a time when he had what could be termed waswasa. I mean, he had issues and he felt that he was very troubled. And the only thing that worked for him was communion, being with community and feeling connected and feeling this. So what comes to me, and this is maybe something to explore in this, is that when a person is so alienated from a innate need, to try and just say do dhikr is kind of the surface level. It's kind of saying, let's put some really nice fertilizer on this ground. But you've got weeds there that really need to be dug into and de-weeded first. And unless we're meeting those needs, that dhikr sometimes it could flush out that vacuum and that felt. But if that is so, you're going back to that, as you said, could be developmental, right down to the roots of your identity where you are interpreting reality through that framework, then unless you're directly tackling that prism and looking at its roots in a way that's gentle and providing the connection and trust for that to unfold into a more fruitful prism, the dhikr won't be able to help. Do you think that's a kind of a useful analogy?
It's a beautiful analogy and something that I really resonate with and operate through on the day-to-day. Like in my line of work as a physician, we get people that, for example, I get a new patient. I spend 2 hours with them as a naturopath, getting to know them really, because it's not about just the symptoms and a pill for the symptoms, but really understanding what is the body, what is the ruh, the vital force, what is it expressing through these different symptoms that I can begin to help support by attuning to. So I have to spend the time to get to know the person really at a personal, deep level. And if they come back a month later and nothing's changed, I give them a whole treatment plan with diet, lifestyle optimization, herbs, a homeopathic remedy, some supplements, some exercises, invite them to clean the water and the air and eat organic and these types of things. They come back a month later and nothing's happened. This is all great stuff, right? Standard stuff. What do I do if nothing's happened? So other people, perhaps, will say, oh, this patient is, quote, non-compliant. They haven't been able to take what I've given them and make it useful. They're non-compliant. Stamping them, with a stamp of rejection, perhaps, or a label that is not really helpful to really helping this person overcome whatever they're going through. For me, I'm curious. Why are they not receptive? I know, alhamdulillah, I believe in my work, and I think this is actually really well indicated. There's something within them, like a knot, that does not allow them to, it's like to nourish themselves with these. What is it between themselves and themselves? This intra-psychic relationship, perhaps we can call it, this intra-soul relationship that things don't land with. It's like this idea of ilm and ilm nafi'. It's like the difference. You can have a lot of good and still not benefit from it one iota. In fact, and then it'll be a judgment against you. So it's like we have to talk about receptivity as opposed to just flooding people with the good in this abstract sense. It's the reign of quantity. It's like we need to kind of yield away from that, because that is one of the fundamental driving forces of modernity. Just more is better. And no, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not. Actually, it can be overwhelming. Constantly be told, do more, do more, do more. People burn out, which is a type of, we can say, trauma as well. I don't want to be so loose with that word, but and again, if we translate it as a psychobiological, biopsychosocial overwhelm, maybe we can get a broader base for that. But really, so it's the receptivity, and so it's like also a metaphor, for example, just for people maybe to understand this in a deeper way as well. When you eat organic food, you may get the best food, spend 2-3 times more than conventional produce to get the best organic, non-chemically altered and sprayed pesticide-laden food. But if your gut is inflamed, if your stomach and your small intestine is disturbed, is diseased, if the gut microbiome, the healthy gut bacteria that live and colonize the small intestine and help with assimilation of nutrients, and which allows for, when it's healthy, a healthy, robust immune system, a healthy hormone system, endocrine system, healthy cognition and focus. We know now the brain-gut connection is there. That's all about the gut microbiome. And what the gut microbiome is all about is diversity of the different bacteria. And so what I find fascinating is that the monoculture
destroys that.
Modern culture, I mean, literally, it's a monoculture of soil. The culture of soil, right? It's like there's so you have a diverse forest, for example, diverse forest of, teeming with plants and trees and insects and bugs and bees and animals and a stream that passes through it, and just teeming with life in this ecosystem that's whole, that's all connected. You take out one element and the whole ecosystem collapses. Now imagine modernity coming and plowing all of that forest and planting GMO soybeans instead. That's one culture, removing the diversity. And this is what you've done to much of the discourse. Much of our communal life has become plowed and become just this one solitary thing. And this has inflamed our receptivity to good.
Well, literally caused inflammation of our inwards,
of our souls. And now we can't accept anything. We can't benefit. So the same way we can't benefit from the food, you might eat organic food and then just evacuate, if you will, organic food. And you might be around people that are really loving and maybe want good for you, and yet because you haven't been able to heal from your toxic environments, then you're not allowing yourself to do that. And it's a self-preservation. And it's actually a beautiful type of adaptation. You can see how Allah Ta'ala designed these mechanisms within us to protect ourselves. This is all about protection of the heart. Sometimes when we guard too much, we disconnect from it. And so it's a matter of understanding this is not pathology. I never pathologize. I never diagnose in this way, especially with mental health disorders or mental health. I just use the word mental health issues or problems. But I don't like to use that diagnostic because it becomes, in labeling that thing, it becomes kind of a thing that they have to now cast off. They have to get rid of. They have to fight. Where it's not so much that. We don't want to bring more conflict. We want to, in the work, in NARM, for example, you mentioned NARM, we want to be able to understand how is this person organizing their internal world. So we want to help them be more receptive to beautiful things and the truth and their truth and love. How do we help them organize and make sense of their internal world? Being curious more than anything. We use a lot of soul inquiry. Really, we really do. And NARM that's what attracted me to NARM. It's a very process-oriented approach, and it helps to the helper to really get a sense of, and the person themselves, what is, where are the main blocks here? What is the belief system here? What is the relationship of the person with themselves? What are what we call the identifications? Are there processed emotions that have not been digested yet and assimilated? How do we, are there any somatic presentations attached to these symptoms, right? The psychobiological kind of phenomenon. And how can we just really begin to understand this thing and not try to fix it? I don't come with my hammer and my tool. I bring presence, I bring compassion, and in doing that and allowing the person to really sit with the grief and make sense of it themselves, not being told, just themselves, like, yeah, I had to do this because I was hurt as a child, or I was heartbroken, I was left for dead, I was whatever. And I had to part of me said, never again. A part of me broke and it said, never again. And then all of these adaptations came online. And so many times this is pre-verbal. You're not sitting there brooding, how can I protect myself? This is the soul itself, the vital force, the ruh al-haywani, the animal spirit itself being roused to protect.
It's an instinctive, it's part of our,
And so it's a matter of honoring that. And part of the work is really honoring this.
But
and
then, finish what you're saying.
And then working to, bring about some sort of resolution such that we can now come back to our hearts. We can come back to our receptivity of truth and love, and be able to accept those things again into our lives.